It's a great question. I will repeat. The question is that I said to listen to the ulama, and he said, who are the ulama that we should listen to? Ulama, scholars, are not just a few and not only in one country. Ulama are all over the world. There are many ulama that I've probably never met and I probably will not meet. So I cannot give you a list and say 1, 2, 3, 4, these are the ulama, right? There are great scholars in almost every country. I mean, I haven't been to every country, but I've been to many countries, and I've seen many ulama on the Quran, on the Sunnah. What you can always use as a criterion to know right from wrong is, as one of the great scholars, he wrote in a book called Ghunyat al-Talibin, Zin bil-Kitab wa Sunnah. Weigh everything with the Quran and Sunnah. The great ulama that are on the haqq, that are on the truth, they will go give you evidences from the Quran and Sahih Ahadith. Having said that, instead of giving you a list of ulama from the top of my head, I will miss many ulama and I will be not fulfilling the haqq. My advice is, you have local ulama and tullab hilm here, you have Shaykh Hudayfa, you have his father here, reach out to them. These are your resources. You don't need to go and be Googling people. Instead, what you have in front of you, use that. Yeah? Don't sit there and watch a dars online of somebody and think, which most of the stuff you won't understand because you don't understand the salahat and things. Instead, utilize the local ulama first. Okay? If they advise you, you know, there is Shaykh Fulan in this country, go seek from him, go learn from him, go read this book, then khalas, yes, alhamdulillah. I'm sure there are ulama in other countries greater than the ulama in the UK, right? No insult to the ulama of UK. Much UK is better than the US. But that doesn't mean that you just try to go for, okay, Fulan Shaykh is the greatest muhaddith alive today, I'm not going to listen to anybody but him. And if I don't see him, then khalas, I'm not going to seek knowledge. No. Utilize the ulama that are in front of you first. So you have Shaykh here, you have his father here, khalas, this is your source of knowledge. Then they can advise you further, inshallah. Alaikum as-salam wa rahmatullah.
I got a question. Are the latter, meaning our generations and before generations, such as strict Hanafi followers, excused from following certain rulings that goes against the Quran or Sunnah? For example, the Hanafi school of thought say Fatiha is not needed to be recited even in the silent rakats, or the wali is not needed for the lady when she's wedding. As for the early Hanafi followers, and including Abu Hanifa, scholars say they are excused because a hadith may not have reached them with a sound isnad. But in our generation has all the source and all the tools that need to find out what is authentic and what, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yes, I do.
Will they be excused?
You just want to get me in trouble, I know. I'll summarize and try to repeat your question. Correct me if I don't summarize it correctly. Which is that in the later generations, if somebody follows a particular school of thought and they see evidences that are authentic, that are outside that school of thought, are they excused from following the evidence? Should they stick to their school of thought? Because the earlier scholars, we could say that maybe the evidence didn't reach them. That's your question?
Yeah.
And I'll address the particular examples you gave as well. First and foremost, what is obligatory upon every Muslim is to obey Allah and His Messenger. Obey Allah and His Messenger. This is the asal, this is the base. Atiullah wa rasulahu. Obey Allah and His Messenger. This is a hukam in the Quran. So upon everybody is to obey the Quran and what is authentic from the Mustafa alayhi salatu salam. This is obligatory. Having said that, if you do not know, then to ask the people who do know, Ahlul Dhikr, people of knowledge. This is something that Allah has ordained as well. So we follow the Quran, we follow the Sahih Ahadith in the light and the guidance of the scholars of Islam. We don't just say, okay, I'm going to take a hadith and make my own explanation of it either. The madahib, and I'm going to try to summarize this answer. The madahib all had the goal to get to the sunnah. Imam Abu Hanifa, great faqih, scholar of fiqh. Imam Malik, the great scholar of fiqh and scholar of hadith, wrote Muwatta. Imam Shafi'i, no doubt, from one of the great scholars of usul and fiqh and so on. Imam Ahmad, no doubt, a faqih, and wrote the Musnad. And others, Dawud al-Zahiri and al-Awza'i, Abdullah ibn Mubarak, all of them, they had the right goal. Their goal was, what do we get to the sunnah? And that's why you will find statements from just about every single one of them saying, Ashal hadith fahuwa madhabi. The most authentic hadith is my madhab. So they strove and struggled to find the most authentic narrations and follow them. And that was right. And throughout their lives, they would find evidences and change their opinions. The great scholar Imam Abu Hanifa, for example, you will find many times in Al-Hidayah and so on, that he would have an opinion, and his students, who were also his ashab, his companions, Abu Yusuf, Imam Muhammad al-Shaybani, would bring him an evidence and then he would change his view. And sometimes his students, in almost 2/3 of the madhab, they will disagree with him because they wanted to follow the evidences. Imam Malik, for example, you will find between Al-Mudawwana and Ibn Abd al-Bar's narrations, you will find differences where he changed his opinion. Imam Shafi'i has hold the Qadim and Jadid in the madhab. And Imam Ahmad, from the Masail Imam Ahmad, you will find many different riwayat. Why? Because they would follow the evidences. So that is the way of every madhab and every imam, to follow the evidence and to reject an opinion when it's not in accordance to the most authentic evidence. Okay? So whether you're early or later, you are never excused from leaving what is in the Quran and Sahih Hadith. The examples you gave, for example, do you need a wali for nikah, for getting married? No doubt to this. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam emphasized repeatedly that a nikah, a marriage done without a wali, is batil, it's invalid, it's invalid, it's invalid. Now sometimes it may be a nikah was done at time of Salaf and it's not mentioned who the wali was. It doesn't mean that there wasn't one. So this means that no doubt you do need a wali. No matter what any madhab says, when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has told us in the authentic narrations that a marriage done without a wali is invalid, then we cannot take anybody's qawl above that of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Other examples, like reciting Al-Fatiha behind the Imam, we know Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us there is no salah without Al-Fatiha. Other examples, what other examples did you give? I think you gave, no? That was it? Last week. So in essence, all of us, we can no doubt benefit from the structure of the madahib. The madahib, for example, the Hanabala, they have a structure in developing a student in fiqh, right? You have Al-Umda, and then Al-Muqni', then Al-Kafi, then Al-Mughni, or you have books like Dalil al-Talib, and then Manar al-Sabil, fi Sharh al-Dalil, and that's very beneficial. But always remember, nobody's statement should be taken above قال الله وقال الرسول عليه الصلاة والسلام. I'm going to let you choose. Wa alaikum assalam. From a friend, right? I have a rash.
Is it, like when we read the phone, is it obligatory, and if not, where is it, sometimes it rewarded or possible?
Are you asking, is it fard to wear a thobe? Man, mashallah, you guys are hardcore out here. Regarding wearing a thobe, we cannot say it's fard. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself didn't always wear a thobe. Regarding clothing, I always hear sunnah clothing. I'm not sure where they get this idea from. Libas in asl is from a'adat and urf. Okay? Meaning, dress in essence is from the local traditions, right? If some people are very strict on this, why is he not wearing sunnah clothing and things? Tell them go wear an izar and rida and walk around regularly. Rasulullah used to wear the izar, lungi, whatever you want to call it, and rida, the top cloth that you wear when you go for Hajj and Umrah. He used to regularly wear it. That wasn't just for Hajj and Umrah. I have never seen anybody walking around, markaz or something, just wearing those two pieces of cloth. If somebody's so strict, can't go do it. Right? And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam at times would just wear the izar, some just the rizar, then sometimes the qamis, which we call the thobe today. But there is the riwayah in Ibn Majah that the qamis, which we call the thobe today, was the most favorite libas of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we do know that it's something he liked, alayhi salatu wasalam. We do know that it represents you as a Muslim today. Like if I see Shaykh Hudayfa walking around looking nice as he does, then I will know he's a Muslim. Even though I'm not saying that the shimal, for example, or his cool, his cufflinks, yeah, the Rasulullah sallam wore them, right? But when I see him like this, I know he's a Muslim. So this is something good. Many of the ulama said this is something mustahab. It's preferred because it's libas al-Muslim. If you see somebody walking around with a big cross, what do you assume about them? They're Christian. They might not be, could be atheists, could be Muslim and ignorant, right? But man tashabbaha biqawmin fahuwa minhum, right? Whoever resembles a people, he is from them. So when somebody resembles the Muslim, somebody looks in a way that he looks like a Muslim, this is good. But whether they wear a shalwar kameez, or whether they wear a thobe, or whether they wear a lungi and a qameez on it, or a silwar with a qameez on it, or it doesn't matter. As long as it represents you as a Muslim, it's something good. See? If somebody wears jeans and a t-shirt, that's fine. But there are some rules. For example, for men, their pants should be above their ankles. Right? Their jeans should not be so tight as to show the aura. Some brothers, they can't make ruku and sujood. Some brothers, their jeans are low, they make sujood and you see the moon. And they invalidate their salah. So, within the rules, if you wear any of those malabis that are not khasan lil kuffar, it's jaiz. But if you wear a dress that represents you a Muslim, that's best.
You know, the theme of the lecture today is to essentially go out in the path of Allah and give da'wah. Now there is a Jamaat, I'm sure you're aware of it, known as Tablighi Jamaat.
I never heard of it. Something new.
What do you think, whatever they're doing, is there any threat on it? What's your opinion about it? Or if not, is there any other Jamaat or any group that is parallel to giving da'wah as much as they are?
MashaAllah. Man, he's going to get you guys in trouble today. Regarding Jamaat Tabligh, first thing, I personally don't believe in making Jamaats. Why make Jamaats? We have, alhamdulillah, the Quran, we have the Sunnah, we have the Sahaba, we have the Salaf, this beautiful example for us, right? Why not just follow them? Why make a group? Like, why break like this is Hari Bagri, and this is this Bagri, and this is that Bagri, and our group is here, and our... Yeah, you can organize, and you can say, okay, this is our central Dawah, Markaz, or whatever, yeah, that's fine. But when you start making the ummah into sects and you start differentiating, and I'm against it to begin with. Secondly, when we say give da'wah, go out in the path of Allah, we want to make sure we always keep Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as our example. Okay? What did Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam do in Mecca, in Medina, before Hijrah, after the Fath of Mecca? How was his da'wah? Right? Tell me. Did he go and visit Abu Bakr and Umar and tell them, let's go sit in the masjid and talk and give a talk, and then that's it?
Didn't you just say that he went out to Mina with Hazrat Abu Bakr
Yes.
and
And spoke to who?
to Kuffar?
Or did he just go to the Muslim tents? Like, where are the Muslims? We're just going to visit Muslims?
But what if in this day and age there are Muslims who don't come to the masjid, who are not
So-
praying their salah? Is there, I'm just saying, should we be against the idea of
No.
calling people to the masjid?
No.
Whatever sect they follow, at least they'll be coming to the masjid, they'll start reading Quran. If they're
Very
not
good.
reading Quran to begin with,
Yeah.
at least invite them to the masjid. What
I
I'm
have
saying-
nothing against that, but let's just take it step by step. Calling the Muslims to the masjid, excellent, wonderful thing to do. Calling people back to Islam, to read Quran, to make salah, 100% good thing to do. The problem is, that's not da'wah, that's islah. That is correcting the mistakes of the ummah. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his number one da'wah was to kuffar. In the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there are Sahaba that drank alcohol. They were punished for it. Right? Hudud were carried out. There are Sahaba who were punished for other sins. There are Sahaba who became murtad and then came back, like Ayyash radiallahu anhu, right? But the core focus of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman and Ali and all of the Sahaba radiallahu anhu and generations after that was to give da'wah to kuffar. My problem with Jamaat Tabligh is they do not give da'wah to kuffar at all. I've spent time with them. I'm a 4-monther. Don't think I don't know. I'm an old worker, right? So don't think I don't know. And any excuse they make that no, not yet, not now, yes we do, look, it's not true. I've spent time with them, I know. The truth is that Jamaat Tabligh has restricted their da'wah only to Muslims. Their usul says you do not give da'wah to non-Muslims. If a non-Muslim becomes Muslim with them, it's by accident, meaning that he came or ran into them. With their principle, you do not give da'wah. In the UK, they've been here for how many years? Next to kuffar that are going to hell. And they send jamaats all over the world. And their neighbor that's going to hell, they don't care. That's wrong. That's not the way of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. No offense, I guess there is offense, but this is just wrong. This is not da'wah. I have nothing against visiting Muslims and bringing them to the masjid. Great. I have nothing against being concerned about our youth that's getting lost. That's a wonderful thing to do. And bringing them to the masjid. And having amal in the masjid. But we have to do it according to the way of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yes, there is, like Umar radiyan, for example, he didn't see a Sahabi at Fajr, he went to his house. Good. I'm giving you evidence for it. No problem. So if for example, in our masjid, if we don't see one of our brothers for salah, or we, especially the new Muslims, we go and visit them. Nothing against that. But to say giving da'wah to kuffar is not our work. Whose work is it? Jamaat, da'wah, tabligh. What is the tabligh? Okay, if there's a Muslim who's a Muslim on Tawheed, but he's a sinful, he drinks alcohol, and he dies in that state, can he go to Jannah? Okay. If a kafir, worships Jesus, dies in that state, can he go to Jannah? So who's more important to give da'wah to? Look, Muna Ilyas, how long has it been? It's not like 10 years or 5 years, right? Before the 40s, before 30s, right? Before Pakistan was made and India was, from then what's been going on? How long are we going to wait before we give da'wah to kuffar? Look, we need to give da'wah to kuffar. This is the most, because they're going to hell if they die on kufr. With that, we need to make islah of our ummah. We need to worry about our youth. We need to visit, make sure Muslims come to the masjid. I have nothing against all of that. But when you leave the core of da'wah and then call yourself Jamaat Tabligh or say this is Tabligh and say going out fi sabilillah, where is qital fi sabilillah? Where is other things that are, you can't just take a juz of the deen and make a jama'ah around it. Otherwise, we make Jamaatul Hajj and Jamaatul Salah. Right? So, this is one issue. Secondly, have you heard of a book called Fada'il Amal? Have you? Okay. You know there are mawdu' hadith in it, batil ahadith. And then when you give that to awam, regular, I'm not saying like some alim who maybe researches like al-Dhahabi's work or something. No, you give it, you tell them this, read this every day. And you have stories about somebody said 70,000 la ilaha and took people out of Jahannam after death and things. So, the essence of the good work done with the visiting and islah of bringing people to the masjid, that's a good thing. Nothing against that. Right? Having tawadu, having humbleness, making your dhikr, nothing, good things, mashallah. But to do it by restricting it only to Muslims and leaving the core of da'wah, which is to kuffar, out, by doing it by relying upon weak and fabricated narrations and handing those books to awam and saying read from this instead of books like Riyadh al-Salihin and other books that would be more beneficial and so on. This is the mistakes we cannot overlook. Allah protect us all and bring us all united upon the Quran.
We've got a number of questions from the sisters. We'll take 2 questions for the sisters, and then after that we'll finish inshallah, and then 10:30 we have Salat al-Isha. The first question from the sisters is, in regards to following the Prophet ﷺ, what's your advice for a woman, especially living in the West or in the UK? how can she best follow the Prophet ﷺ? How can she give da'wah to Islam, especially from the angle of modesty? How can she call to Islam in the West and still be modest and so on?
Inshallah, I would like to request if we can finish the questions with the sisters, because sisters always get pushed in the end, so I don't want my sisters upset with me. So inshallah, we'll finish your questions even if it takes long. I'll try to keep them short. The first very beautiful question: how can our sisters in the West follow the Prophet ﷺ, and how can they be involved in the da'wah while taking care of their modesty? So the first thing is following the sunnah. Most of the sunnah is for men and women. Sallu kama ra'aytumuni usalli. Rasulullah said, pray as you have seen me. This is general. So everything Rasulullah ﷺ did, from his adhkar after Fajr and Isha and after salawat and sleeping, women can follow that as a man can. Some things that are different, where there is ahkam that are different, then they can follow the sunnah from the ummahat al-mu'mineen, from the mothers of the believers, like how Aisha radiyallahu anha and Salma and others from the mothers of the believers did. So they follow that example. Regarding their involvement in da'wah, I think women are the most important aspect of da'wah. But we don't mean that you take a Muslim woman and put her in harm's way by telling her go out to the park and give da'wah. We didn't see Aisha radiyallahu anha going out in the street and challenging Abu Jahl like we saw Hamza radiyallahu anhu, for example, right? So we do follow the way of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the way of the Salaf al-Salihin in our da'wah. But we did see many of the Sahabiyat giving da'wah or calling many of the women of the mushrikeen on an individual basis towards Islam. So our sisters, those of our sisters that go to school, you have other women, non-Muslim women you interact with, call them about to Islam. Some of our sisters work in their workplaces, they can interact with non-Muslim women and call them towards Islam. Those of our sisters that, mashallah, don't go to school and don't work, you're still part of the da'wah. Look, you live in a neighborhood, you have neighbors that are not Muslim. Well, I don't know, in the UK, mashallah, maybe not, but in most places, when there is Eid, when there is Ramadan, you can make some sweets, you can make some biryani or whatever else, and give it to the females of the neighborhood and tell them about Islam, open up those venues of da'wah. And more than that, look, support your husbands in the da'wah, support your brothers in the da'wah, encourage your children. Look at Khadija radiallahu anha and how she encouraged the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and supported him in his da'wah. There are sahabiyat that would encourage their husbands even when they had physical difficulties to go out fi sabilillah and things. These were the women who were the backbone of the ummah. Raise your children upon the Quran and Sunnah. Talk to your family about taking out practices of bid'ah and shirk. This is your da'wah. And last and not least, even from the privacy of your home and from your hijab and from where you are, you can be involved in the online da'wah. I don't mean that you go and chat with guys and give them da'wah. No, na'udhu billah, that's haram. But rather, many of the sisters, for example, for our channel, I personally don't have a TikTok channel. I don't have an Instagram account. I don't have any of that. And there are brothers and sisters around the world that we don't know that have opened up accounts and they've just taken clips from our videos and they've posted them, and from those clips people are becoming Muslim. So from the privacy of your home, from your hijab, you can be involved in the da'wah. You can financially support the da'wah, and all of that is a part of da'wah. Da'wah is not just you're going to go in the street and fist fights and things, no. So from your hijab, from your niqab, from your abaya, from all of that haya, keep that haya and also be involved in the da'wah.
Next question is, can you clarify the dress of a woman? You've talked about men, but some ladies may get confused. Jazakallah.
Oh, you guys have some. I want to try to keep this brief, but the dress of the woman is, where it is the most covering for her. The Muslim woman is something precious, like a pearl. It's not something to be thrown, rather to be covered and protected. The Muslim woman, when she walks, the more she covers, the better it is. If she stays home, this is the best for her. If she goes out, then for her to be covered in a way that she's not even recognized. Like the Sahabiyat, they would go and come back without being recognized. This is the best for them. For a Muslim woman to cover all of her body, except for what is apparent. And regarding that, there is some khilaf of ulama. what I hold personally is to cover the face and hands is wajib. That's my personal opinion that I follow from my shuyukh. But there are A'imma and ulama that said the face and hands can be shown, and I respect that view. I'm not criticizing the view. So, at minimum, to cover the whole body, including the feet. At minimum, to cover the whole body, including the feet, when there is a non-mahram there. Yeah? And then, whether you can show the face and hands or not, it's a different issue. All of the ulama of Islam would agree that at minimum, it's mustahab. At minimum, it's preferred that the face and hands are covered. And many of the A'imma and ulama from the time of the Salaf till our time, they took that it's wajib, it's obligatory. Even if a woman is making salah at home by herself, yani she should cover her body. Yani even if there is no non-mahram there, she's covered, except for her face. Yani that's a different mas'ala. But these are things where a woman should do. What I will say, at minimum, a sister should always look at how to dress in the most modest way possible. Because she is not somebody to be put on display for people to gawk at and people to fulfill their desires of looking at and things like this. And don't believe those people that say, oh no, when I look at a woman it doesn't tempt me. They're all lying. Or they're gay, one of the two. Just keep it real. Our sisters, they are not so cheap as to be thrown around for people's lust. Rather, they are valuable and protected.
Jazakallah khair. What's your advice for people who think people like Andrew Tate are good role models for the Muslim youth?
Who's Andrew Tate? I don't.
We don't have to
Oh,
explain
no,
that.
who's Andrew Tate? You tell me quickly.
He's just a brother, well, not brother, but no Muslim, who has become very popular recently. And he's become popular because he's, you know, I don't know how to explain it. He comes out showing that he calls himself an alpha male.
An alpha male.
Yeah. And he's,
I think if you have to call yourself an alpha male, you're no longer an alpha male.
no, and he says things like, you know, women should be at home. I've got this. I've
Is he Muslim?
He's not Muslim though.
He's not a good role model.
So we can discuss that more later, inshallah. Sure. What's the best way to give da'wah to your family?
Just on the subject of role models, just to be clear. Look, if you need role models, you have Anbiya. If you need role models, you have the Sahaba. You have the Tabi'un, the Salihin from the Salaf, the A'imma, the Ulama, the scholars of Hadith. Everybody fawq al-turab, everybody that's above the ground, above the earth, is turab. Don't look for role models. Role models are those that have passed away. Everybody alive, you don't know what fitna will come upon them. You don't know what test will come upon them, so leave them. And how could we role model after a kafir? Somebody who doesn't worship Allah. Somebody who's, if he dies in that state, he's going to go to hell. Even if he makes cool statements and things like this, we don't take rappers, actors, social influencers as role models. We take ulama, tullab ilm, we take shuyukh, we took sahaba as role models. Because those are the people that are close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What's the question?
What's the best way to give da'wah to your family?
The best way to give da'wah to your family, first and foremost, through your akhlaq, through your good manners. If you are the one who curses and uses foul language and loses your temper and is the worst, then who's going to take you for your da'wah? Nobody's going to listen to what you're saying then. So to use good manners, but also with that, not to end at that. To always want good. Nasiha is to want good. So when you want good for your family, if you see shirk, if you see bid'ah, don't let it go. But with good manners, with good akhlaq, with the best you can present, bring up the subject, lay the asas, the essence of following the Quran and Sunnah, and then work on bringing that into the household.
Barakallahu feekum. Last question, inshallah, because it's in time for salah. What if somebody claims that we need to prioritize unity over tawheed because the Prophet ﷺ was merciful and kind even to his enemies?
Tayyib. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam was no doubt merciful and kind, even in times of war and so on. And sometimes he was obviously strict, and there were prisoners that were executed and things, and not going to sugarcoat that kind of stuff. But that has nothing to do with giving up Tawheed. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not sacrifice Tawheed to bring unity to the Quraysh. When the Quraysh offered, and they wanted to bring unity by him accepting their shirk, he didn't. So we cannot sacrifice Tawheed for unity. We cannot think that good akhlaq means to sacrifice Tawheed. We should be kind, we should be merciful, we should be generous, we should have good mannerisms even with a mushrik. Meaning, even if your neighbor is a Christian or a Jew, you should show good manners to them. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he had a neighbor who was Jewish, a young boy, as we know the hadith, and he cared about him. But he cared about him becoming Muslim. He didn't just say, okay, khalas, let him go to hell, is aqidah, but I'm just going to be nice to him. No. When you sacrifice Tawheed, you don't care about those people. Because if you cared about them, you would want them to be on Tawheed, to be saved from an-nar. So we never sacrifice Tawheed for unity.
Take one more. Jazakallah khairan. What's the best book to study authentic seerah for a beginner?
Oh, last question had to be a hard one. To be very honest, there are few books that are fully authentic for the seerah. There is one really good one. It's a Seerah Sahiha of Dr. Amri. Seerah Nabawiyya Sahiha, I believe the full title is. Dr. Amri has written, it's really, really good. It's kind of a dry read though. It's a very thick one volume, but it's all Sahih. But if you're trying to get like a very spiritual read, it's probably not it. There is also a Mukhtasar of the Seerah Sahiha from Shaykh Albani. There is also another one from Shaykh Muhammad al-Wahhab that is good. But again, Al-Rahiq of Mubarak Puri is also an excellent book, although there are some da'if hadith in it, but it really flows well. My suggestion, if you can, get the book Zad al-Ma'ad of Ibn al-Qayyim. It's an amazing book, it's an unparalleled book. And then if you're not sure about some of the narrations, talk to your shuyukh. We have a series on our channel, on the Majdribat channel, and also on the One Message Foundation, that we've tried to do a series of the seerah based only on Sahih and Hasan Maqbul Ahadith. So you can listen to those. But those are some references, inshallah.